Okay, we are now recording. Commissioner Niles.
Hi, I want to welcome everybody to the Ranked Choice Voting Subcommittee meeting on 10/26/2021. And we have a quorum. We have 4 commissioners here with us. Today, we are going to be talking about our presentation our public presentation that we are going to be giving next week to the commission around our proposals. I sent all of the presentation out to everyone. Did everybody get a chance to kind of give it a look? I kind of talked about what I was going to do, like separate everything. And I'm going to make one slide just kind of apologizing because for the commission, I'm sure it's very, like, getting all of this material is kind of overwhelming. But eventually, they're only going to get, it'll be like one slide. Here's our proposal. This is our ballot measure. This is it. But we have so many different proposals because we had to, because of the election and what's going to happen with Amendment 2021-1 and 2021-2 with the nonpartisan races. So how do you guys want to do this? You want to go through like each slide and any suggestions? I'd be happy to like change anything or do anything. I did make some notes on the bottom and I haven't really fine-tuned those yet, but I will be. So that'll be a little bit fine-tuned. I'm going to try to, I know it's a lot of slides, but I'm going to try to go through it fairly quickly. It'll be posted on the page if anybody wants to look at it. And but how's the best way to approach this? Or did you guys have any, or did you just want to call out something that you saw that you think needs to be changed? I think the first couple slides, like slide 2, just as a really brief explanation of ranked choice voting, very simple. There's the reason that I put that graphic on slide 2 was because when I went to the workshop with the auditors and the people that do ballot design, they said this is the most effective way to teach people, is to have that small explanation above where they're voting on how they're supposed to do it. So see how it says how to complete a ranked choice voting ballot. This is the actual ballot. And so that little explanation is up above, and they said that was very extremely extremely effective. And some of the election administrators that use that didn't spend any money on voter education at all, because they, in their voter's guide and on their ballots, it was clearly explained. So I have that little explanation of ranked choice voting in slide 2. I think that's pretty basic. Is that okay? Yeah. Slide 3 talks about our proposals and why we have so many right now and why we're giving them this many. So that's just a real basic. I've included the ballot language that we're going to have, the fact that we are going to be talking about ranked choice voting to determine top 2. And then this is slide 4, ranked choice voting for all county partisan elections and eliminating the primary, and then ranked choice voting in those combination of partisan and nonpartisan election ballot language. So that's just kind of like a synopsis of what we did and what that's about. And the reason I included that graphic is because, well, our county auditor likes the way Alaska does it, and that's Alaska ballot right there. Yeah. So I thought I would just include that one.
I hope we're smart as people in Alaska. So
I know, right? So then slide 5, I just took the actual ballot language that Dave O'Brien made for us, and I kind of put each one on. So this slide 5 is proposal number 1, which is a nonpartisan election, eliminating the primary and just using ranked choice voting for nonpartisan races that way. And that would be using the regular bottoms up, because it's not a multi-candidate race. And then the ranked choice voting for the top 2, I have, oh yeah, I need a little thing there. I have, we have the 2 proposals. One is for single transferable vote, and it's just a way of doing, calculating ranked choice voting. And so we have 2A that talks about doing the top two with the proportional ranked choice voting, which is STV voting. And so we have that there. And then 7 is ranked choice voting using the bottoms up,
Do we need
the
to
top two.
use the acronym? Well, I guess for us, it's okay to use the acronym. Uh, I was trying to figure out what does STVRCV mean, and I
It's
thought it was a
single,
typo.
yeah. There's supposed to be, and I'm going to change it right now as I talk to you guys. It's supposed to be STV/RCV because it's just a type of ranked choice voting. And I think that when Fair Vote came and talked to us, they talked about it. And you use that in multi candidate races where you're going to have multiple winners. So that would just be for the top two voting.
I might recommend just writing out the single transparent STV acronym once and having it in there somewhere.
Oh,
It could
that's a
be in
good idea.
smaller print.
Yeah. Even if it's just somewhere in the wording, just so if somebody wants to see like what is STV, they can at least find it somewhere on the slide.
Yeah, I thought it was an eye chart for a minute.
Do you know what? I just noticed there's a mistake. I'm on 6 and conducting. Okay, so I have a mistake there. Thanks for, see, I'm so glad I went through this because I'm actually on 6 and this is not STV. This is bottoms up. This is just regular ranked choice voting.
Oh,
So I will take that out of there. In 6, and this number 7 is STV. And there is, in the first sentence, it says single transfer vote method.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that mistake. You know, to be honest, and after I talked to Fair Vote, I talked to the attorney, and I talked to everybody, if we don't get the STV, the proportional ranked choice voting, it's not that, it's not going to be a big loss. If people want to go, no, I just want to go with, regular ranked choice voting, it is considered to be better by people that, really know ranked choice voting. But they said, given the fact that, getting ranked choice voting in the charter is would be a win. And so, if the commission rejects the single transferable vote method of ranked choice voting, that's fine. It's, there's not that much difference between the bottoms up ranked choice voting, and it is a little bit easier to explain to people about bottoms up ranked choice voting. Okay, great. So I'm glad I kept that mistake. So then we just have the language there. Looks like I have a unnecessary space. There we go.
oh,
Okay,
where
I
the
just fixed it.
the or total number. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I fixed that. So the next one is the combination, and that's the 3. So that would mean like, oh, if we got like, partisan counselors and nonpartisan executives. And so that's just a combination of the two. So that's why you'll see that this one uses more space. Because you have this, and then then the next slide you'll add on that single transferable vote option, and then on 10 you'll add on using the bottoms up option. That makes sense? Does that flow? I think that this is the only place that we may like lose some people going, oh, I don't really understand. What do you guys think? I mean, it's up to us, I think, as a subcommittee to go, okay, well, we just recommend the bottoms up, or we just, or do you, as a committee to go like, oh no, we want to give the commission the option. It's totally up to you guys. I'm not.
I think the commission will want to have a recommendation from us, because I got a hunch they're seeking some guidance. What will be the 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 best option for governance and administration, and then work our way down with the trade-offs after that.
What do the rest of you guys think? I don't, you know, I
I think
no, go ahead.
I agree with that. I think I mean I think it's just fine to run through all the options so that we educate the commission. But I think having our recommendation for how to move forward, I think is but it helps with that decision making process. I mean they're kind of trusting us, and I mean especially you with all the everything you've been part of, to be the subject matter experts on this and be able to provide that insight, and they can take or leave it, but at least they get that recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really torn with it, and I had conversations with Fairvote and Dave O'Brien around it. Like, what I just don't want to overwhelm the commission with like, oh, this is this is overwhelming. This would and there's not a huge difference. So if I were gonna recommend something, I don't know. I'm really interested in what you guys have to say about it, because I would just say, okay, let's just take out the STV and just put the bottoms up, just because I think that you are going to get more buy-in, because it's easier to understand, and this is just such a new concept. Though I want to make it clear to anybody that's listening, the difference between STV and bottoms up, the voter doesn't see any difference at all. It's just in the calculation. So I mean, I'm willing to leave them both in, as long as you don't think it's just gonna like turn people on.
Well,
And then we can talk about it, and I'll be happy to talk to them about STV and proportional and bottoms up. I don't know. Up to you.
will any of those make a difference after the election?
It's
We
the
pick?
top two. So we would be using that only in the top two. So you only use the proportional only in the top two voting. The rest of the our proposals are to decide a single winner. So you're only going to use proportional representation when we're doing our multi candidate. So it's just in that top two primary. So I guess it would only make a difference with the partisan races. So this would not be a question if all of our positions go nonpartisan, then we wouldn't have a problem with that, because we wouldn't have a top two primary if we do that. So see, there's so many questions.
Yeah, I think we probably need to wait until after the election when we come before the commission for okay, this is our recommendation. You see all options. We've been thinking about this, and until we know what the election is, versus partisan versus nonpartisan and all that, then we'll have a single recommendation for you. So
I think that makes sense. That makes sense to me, Doug, is to go ahead and give them, because I have to send this out by the 28th. So go ahead and send this out with all the options, right? And then just say that we will have a recommendation after the election on what
and I think
option that we recommend. Does that make sense?
yeah, I think the majority will say, "Fine, I'll wait until you give me the recommendation," and
Right. Yeah.
because they don't want to wade through all the detail that we've gone through
So how do you feel
of the
about
commission. I'm talking about.
how do you feel about that, Dorothy? I know that you're pretty, you know a lot about proportional ranked choice voting and stuff. So send it all out, and then we'll decide, because we may be like agonizing over a decision right now that's not really one that we have to make, that the election's going to make for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's really overwhelming right now. Like looking at like the PowerPoint, I'm just kind of
I
like,
know.
oh, it's pretty overwhelming. So it might, yeah, might be one of those things where you just kind of wait to see what happens first with the election and then propose our recommendations
Yeah.
versus
The-
overwhelming people like because there isn't a lot like that's a big explanation. It's like really kind of explaining like, okay, if the positions stay partisan and we're doing a top 2 primary, this is the reason why we're recommending, you know, like the single transferable vote because of the situation in which one candidate's super popular, you know, like going into that whole explanation. I think it is a little bit overwhelming, and I just kind of like all the kickback we're already getting.
I know.
You know, like people will
So-
just not want to, they'll just choose not to want to listen. So, and I'm kind of on,
Yeah,
I'm
and I'm
on board
worried
with this,
about
just kind of waiting things out.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And I really worried about putting a presentation with all of these options, but that's what they're asking me for. They want it by the 28th. They want all the options. And we're doing that. And then we're doing that in our other committees as well that are, you know, like the
Vacancy.
like the vacancy committee. They're giving them all their options as well. So, I mean, maybe I should make a slide going, please don't be overwhelmed by this. And in the end, you're only going to have one thing. Yeah, maybe I'll do some kind of fun slide in the beginning. Like, I know this is a lot of stuff, you know.
Read through
something
this in your own time.
I know.
Like-
I know. This is
I think
just
you
for
kind of
you.
have to give an explanation of the different versions. Like, what does a single transferable vote mean? What does bottoms up mean? Like,
I
people are
know.
gonna want those answers.
So similar to what when I sent out the email to on vacancy where I just listed it and what the difference is for each one of those. So it's just a phrase.
Okay, I'm gonna I'll put something like that together. And this is the ballot language. So I don't know. I don't think I can get away with not sharing the actual ballot language because that's what I was asked to do.
Mhm.
But maybe in the beginning, like where I put ranked choice voting, I can put just a small little explanation, you know, just about single transferable vote. You can just go, this is proportional. This is ranked choice voting, but using the proportional method. And voters don't see a difference. They still get to rank, you know, just maybe 2 sentences. Is that, you know, that would probably work. Yeah, I can do that in the that's a great suggestion, and I'll do that in the very beginning. So something around what does SVT mean? I wonder where I should put that.
Maybe
You know, I'm going to put that in the ballot language for the multiple options. I will just do another bullet point, and that is slide number 4. So I'll add that. I'll add that because it's multiple options because that's one of the options too. And then I'll explain what STV is and what bottoms up means. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll put it in that. Put it in that one. And I'll work on it on the beach. And okay, so then we kind of have to go through all of these options. And I'm going to go. I do have notes. Did you guys get copies of the notes? The notes is just a really brief, and you know, hopefully they read this. I'm not expecting anybody to read like, you know, legal language, you know, during the presentation, but I do have notes that which would, so we should be able to breeze through this presentation, even though it's like a lot of slides with all that stuff. You should breeze through it in like, you know, 15-20 minutes. So I did kind of, so then getting down to the combination, we were there. And then this is one I put in because it was really important because these were, I'm on number 12 right now. These were things that Auditor Kimsey brought forward. These were his concerns and that we have been working with to make sure he gets he needs to implement successfully ranked choice voting. So this section just goes over those rules, and I have notes about how, we just wanted to make sure the auditor had everything he needed, and we'll continue working with him through November and December to make sure that he's still confident and has what he needs. So looks like I have 2 rules for implementation. Sorry, 13 is a duplicate. Yeah. And then the effective date. Now that effective date that's there is a placeholder, and that was not something that I thought I wanted to talk to you guys about, because he really doesn't need to 2025 to do it, to get it done. They can get it done in 2 years. If it gets passed in 2022, he can have it. He should be able to implement it in 2024. So I was going to ask you guys if you want to change the implementation date on the rules and implementation to 2024 instead of 2025, because what that would actually do, if we changed it to 2025, we would not have a ranked choice voting election until 2026. So from everything that I heard, and from when I went to that meeting of auditors, and even when you heard from Auditor Kimsey, he goes, I can do one tomorrow. I just don't have the capabilities to do the different running through the different cycles. And but I wanted to also let you guys know that California is using the Verde machines, and they are running. They created the software for them, and they are running an election this year using the Verde software. So the software is already developed, and it's ready for implementation in Clark County. So do you guys want to leave it at 2025, or you want to change it to 2024?
I would recommend changing it to 24 because it's still a placeholder. And if through the process between now and the end of the year, they come back and say, oh, we've recognized that this is more complicated than we anticipated, and we really would prefer another year, we could change it at the last minute back to 25.
Okay.
But I would, you talk about this being a placeholder, I'd put 24 as a placeholder and just, it may stay, or we could
I agree.
switch.
And this I'm probably going to send this presentation to Greg Kimsey as well. It'll be the first time that he's seen our complete ballot language. And so we may get like pushback from him and go, oh, can't you make it 2025 or 2026? But
Because
he didn't seem
his staff will push back on him probably.
He actually didn't seem like he would do that. He seemed like he was like, oh, I can do this, So does everybody agree I'll change it to 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll need to change my, I believe my explanation,
Right.
because I think I had 20. I just copied that information.
Okay, and then the next one is the subcommittee timeline. So I just have like November, the explanatory statement, finish any changes, consultation with auditor and legal counsel, survey, town hall, and then to the drafting committee in November. And December, it's just fine tuning all of that, I think. And then December 31st, we adjourn.
Yeah, my hope is that all the committees stay in place until the end of December in case there's any changes that have to be sent back for some rework on a committee, because the drafting committee shouldn't be responsible for, I mean, they can make little tweaks here and there, but if there's something that's substantive, that needs to go back to the subcommittee. So I assume that they'll all be in play until the end of the year. Is that correct, Anthony?
We haven't discussed it. I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Okay.
So if we get to the point where we discuss that for an agenda item, I'll bring up the concern.
Yeah.
Well,
If we had
but
staff
I would
available,
imagine that would I would imagine that would be up to the committee. Like I would like the ranked choice voting committee to be, doesn't mean we have to meet, but we stay together until we get it done, until we see it like done and ready. So, but I wouldn't think that that would be a executive decision. I think that would be a committee decision. But
Well, commission
does
decision.
anybody see anything on here, the timeline that you want to change? Or did I miss anything? No?
No, looks okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, and then I just started these questions that came up for our last meeting. There was a number of questions around timing, around cost, around education. So I was just going to address a few of the questions. There's two slides on that, and there's so I have one on questions and one on voter education. The voter education, I don't think there is any way that this commission or the county could do the kind of education that's going to happen by coalition groups. They are massive and they are active. And just to let you know that ranked choice voting advocates phone banked into Clark County last weekend, and they have been doing it for a couple of months. It's just something that they do, and they've got the infrastructure set up to do that as well. So, so I think the education costs are going to be. I loved it when Greg Kinsey said, like, well, you know, Utah, they said zero. You know, and it's like it really is something that's, you know, it's hard to predict what that's going to cost and everything. But I think that we have a really strong coalition of ranked choice voting advocates. I think I have a list of, I think almost 40. I'll check before I leave that there, of coalition groups that are working to educate people around ranked choice voting.
I think I see under costs. Are those 3 bullet points? Are they? Is that what you're trying to do there?
Which is that? Where are you at?
Under costs on page 15, questions from our last meeting. Those are just, all these are
Yes.
just bullet points, right?
Yeah, right.
You may want to put them in a bullet format.
Doing it for some reason, it wouldn't let me do it. Here, let me try again.
Okay.
I mean, I tried sometimes.
Or space them. If you can't, if you can't do a bullet, space it. Just more readability.
And I found sometimes if I can't get something to do bullets appropriately, I just do a hyphen space before each one.
Oh, really? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little cheat system.
I know, that is. Okay, I'll fix that later and make it more clear. But that's a good idea. And then education, I'll give more things on education. Survey questions. I was going to talk to you guys about that today to see.
I'd like to make a comment about the education, because I think that's beyond the scope of our committee, and something that we as commissioners can't really do. We could educate people about the importance of voting yes on this, but in terms of educating people how to use ranked choice voting, we are done on December 31st. So
I agree with that, Doug. The only reason that this is here is because commissioners kept asking about it.
But I think that's to me, that's one of the answers to you're asking for something, education.
So all I'm doing
costs,
is telling
those are
them,
out of our control. We're about
and as you can
setting
see,
up a structure.
And no, as you can see, I didn't put that we were going to do anything. I just said these people will take care of it. Concerns, I can change that to concerns around voter education if that makes it more clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'll do that because that's really
it's the auditor's responsibility.
okay. I'll make it concerns. Okay, there you go. Concerns around voter education.
Yeah, some of the stuff will be less than the cost of running a commission.
I know, right? Yeah, I know. So, okay, that's a good change. So survey questions, did anybody think about like how would be the best way to do this? If you scroll down, Doug, I made a little, the next one, Doug has a little proposed ballot measure that I put on a slide 18. Do you see that? It just says,
I don't have 18. I maybe have an old one.
yeah, you must have an old one. So
Sorry.
I'll read it to you guys. It says the Clark County Charter Review Commission proposes an amendment to the Clark County Home Rule Charter, which allows the county auditor in the administration of elections to conduct ranked choice voting for only county elected official positions. This amendment would allow voters the option to rank up to 6 candidates for each county office. Should this amendment to the Clark County Home Rule Charter be enacted? We could just use that as a survey question. Or do you think they need more of an explanation of what ranked choice voting is?
I would. I think I had written something.
The explanatory statement as well.
Well, would you like to be able to choose your
I'm
choose
writing
your
all this down.
well I'm trying to think. I just thought you might, people might like to say, well, yeah, I'd like to be able to make a choice if I want to uh, on vote who my second choice would be or whatever like that. I don't know how you would exactly say it, but um, would you like to rank your candidates that you are voting for or something? Yes or no? It
Would you
just
like, how would you word something like that?
still not right, but
Would you like the opportunity to choose your first choice, second choice, third choice, and so on in an election? See. Anthony, any ideas?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, it's interesting trying to figure out the wording on this one.
Having a survey question that would say to people, yeah, I like to have that. And
So would you like the opportunity to vote for your first choice, second choice, third choice, and so on in an election?
Is
You know,
it possible for us to put a sample ballot, like
Like the one I just
visual?
showed?
Yeah, like almost if we can put a visual on the survey, I think it would be way better than like
I think you could.
asking people like,
Yeah.
Issue with that might be with the translation part of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I've seen that a monkey survey
Okay.
that they
Choice.
have pictures.
Would you
there's
like,
gotta be already though like a sample ranked choice voting translated in Spanish
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah, I
Like,
guess the San Francisco one I think was in like
yeah.
what 6 languages or something like that.
I know, right? So, but the question would be the survey question. And then we could put a couple of sample ballots up there, but that's a bunch of, but the survey, would you like to vote for your first choice, second choice, third choice in elections in Clark County elections? I mean, it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
First choice.
Something will come to me, I know, in the middle of the night. But yeah, it's
this is the way it's kind of worded in, I think, Represent Us, like, you know, when they're talking about like, oh, how would you like to do this? I mean, would you like the opportunity to, first choice, second choice, third choice?
My preference would be to have like a little bit more sophisticated survey question that kind of asks up front, are you familiar with ranked choice voting?
We could
And
ask
then-
2 questions, like,
Mhm.
are you
Yeah.
familiar with ranked choice
Well,
voting?
that uses survey logic. So if they say yes, then they go to the question, would you like to have it on the ballot, you know, in 2022 versus if they say no, then here's some more information. Would you like to see this on the ballot?
Just based on the conversations we were having, that are down at executive, I want to try to. I think it's best that we try to keep it simple without relying on survey logic and all that as much as possible. Just because I think we're aiming just to have 1 or 2 questions, or like 2 or 3 questions per, so that each a measure can be on a page together. To try to
On 1
keep
page?
it as, yeah, to limit complicatedness, and with pulling out the results before the meeting after all of that's due. You know, present it a little bit easier.
Can you
So-
have an image on the back and have the question highlighted over the image so that people could see what a ballot would look like and see the question? Yeah, I don't know it much.
Okay,
I don't
so
know
I
anything
think
about it.
that, I personally think that we really just kind of like need to ask people, have you heard of it? I mean, it's not really going to change what, you know, but it will give us a good idea of, you know, where, you know, if people have heard about it and if there's community support. Have you heard of ranked choice voting? And then like somehow say something like what I said. Would you like to be able to vote for your first choice, second choice, third choice in Clark County elections? Some way word something like that, just really basic, you know. I mean, we could do a small explanation saying, but then it seems like we're advocating if we do too much of an explanation. Like if we say like,
Well,
you know,
it's an explanation. I think that ballot idea is Dorothy had was good that we
I know, but did
have that.
Anthony say we can't really do a ballot?
I don't know about the images. My concern was just if it's something that is, you know, has a lot of wording on it, just ensuring that it's either can be a single image is not language dependent, or
Oh, I can do one like that.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
that
You're
Yeah.
talking
I don't.
about if this then that type of stuff is hard to do.
Yeah.
So there are images out there that are not language dependent. It just basically shows it. They're going rank, rank, rank. You know, it's a check, 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 check. So that image could easily be added to not be to be mindful of the fact that, you know, there's not a lot of you know, not everybody speaks English and stuff because there's no words in it. It's just an image of the checks with the boxes, like first, second, third. Yeah. So that would be easy to put there.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like we're going to get a whole lot of the same stuff we got on the last survey, which is I need more information before I answer this question, unless we're like
Oh, I don't think
prompting people with information. I think that's like, it's going to be a big issue.
and I agree with you, but I don't think there's any way that we are going to not have that because it is a new thing, right? So I think that there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, I need more information about that. But you know, in 2 months' time, we don't have time to like educate people, but not even 2 months' time. In 2 weeks' time, to do education that's really necessary. And there, you probably couldn't. But I would be willing if, you know, if to put together like a brief summary of what that is. But even with a brief summary, they're going to ask, you know, there'll be a lot of questions around it.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like wondering like if we can just do a link that we give people. But then I'm thinking, oh, if people are filling it out on their phone and they click a link, then they come out of the survey. So there's like a whole lot
Right.
of issues there. So maybe just the sample ballot image might be the best way to go. That's the most simplified education piece we can give.
Right.
I just don't know how useful a survey really becomes when like half the people answer, I need more information before I can answer this question. Like it doesn't even really seems like a waste of our time at that point that we're trying to get people to fill out a survey.
Well, we only had 500. We only had 500 people respond to, right, to our survey.
You
And
know,
so it's not a great that, you know, it's one of the reasons why we put the amendment on the ballot to extend like how long the Charter Review Commission terms were, is because there wasn't great community input and community because we didn't have the time to do it. So we're up against that wall again here. And so, yeah.
people are
So
used
I
to
don't imagine us getting us much more than we did before.
people
What
are
was that,
used
Doug?
to surveys. Every time I have a service done or something, I get a robocall asking me from 1 to 5, you know, was the service great or was it poor? You know, and I mean, I get that every day. So I think people are ingrained in that. I tend to answer those stupid spam calls, and you have nothing else to do when you're retired, but besides this. So you got something
And
to look
this.
forward to down below that I'm looking at. Um,
Yeah,
but
I just kind of
but
don't understand the point. It's like I'm just trying to understand like what are we trying to achieve with the survey? What is our goal? Like
I don't know.
we're just
But
gonna get a bunch of
it's on
people from
the
Fair
work
Vote
plan. So
answering. Like
yeah.
yes.
I think you want to find out what is it the desire of a voter when they want to vote. Say, oh, I got 2 people I like to vote for. Well, you have the opportunity to pick 1 and 2, and they may both. One of them will get it maybe, and it's it takes your vote a little bit further than just checking it one time. So it empowers your vote.
Yeah, you don't have to sell it to me.
No, well, I'm just trying to say how
I know.
how you phrase the sentence to say, yeah, I like to be more empowered about my vote. Yeah, I would like to be able to influence if my person doesn't win, that I could have an opportunity to pick the second choice.
No. I know. I just don't know if we're going to be allowed to do any kind of simple explanation
Well,
like that.
it depends on the wording of how. That's what it's a tough one to
Yeah.
figure out.
I'm not on that committee. Anthony, you're on the committee. What are they looking for?
I think, well, none of the, so survey questions aren't due yet. It's something that we're actually planning to talk about at this next meeting. So
Okay. Do you want to just put off this conversation and just
yeah,
keep thinking about it, y'all?
yeah, there's
Does
no
that
rush
sound
on this
cool?
part is kind of my yeah.
Okay. That sounds cool. But everybody keep in mind like how to best present it, because it is a new total concept to everyone. So it is going to be a little bit different, I think. Yeah. So I think my takeaway from this on the presentation is to add, as Dorothy suggested, at the top, kind of explaining some of the basic concept, like what single transferable vote is and what bottoms up is. So when they read this, and then just add that some kind of like nicety saying, oh, we understand this is overwhelming. You're not going to see this when we get the election results. You will see a clear proposal that is shown to us. So I'll add that at the very beginning. And I will take out, like, I made some slides around like the survey questions and all that stuff, and I'll remove that and keep that for another presentation that we may do. But I do want to answer some questions, just because there were some questions, that came up at that last meeting, because there were some questions that that came up from commissioners after, like, Greg Kimsey talked and after, we gave our presentation, and they were questions that he had answered, and, he clearly said, we're not going to be hand counting anything. So I just, I did get some feedback from some ranked choice voting people that were there to hear what we were doing, that they were like, wait a minute, you just said that, when somebody repeated something like that, and the costs of things and those kind of things. So I just want to make sure that those questions are like answered in writing somewhere. So I was going to include that. Anything else you want to do? We lost Doug. He has 8 more
Gone
minutes.
green.
He has 8 more minutes.
You have a typo on slide 16.
Okay, good. I haven't checked anything.
It's
Which one?
involved.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
I haven't.
And I think
It's
that
innovatively
second
involved.
sentence, you may want to put League of Women Voters and Fair Vote Washington.
Yeah, I was going to add a couple more.
Or just
Oh,
make it a
okay.
list. I was just saying it looks a little weird if it's not a list.
Yeah,
It's just the two.
I was
but-
going to add like one more. What is the one, Dorothy, which is the Citizens for Democracy or something like that?
There's Fixed Democracy First.
And then there's a coalition of, it's the one that Colin is now the policy director on.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. There's
yeah.
so many of them.
I know. I was going to add one more, so I had 3. So I had groups such as blah, 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 but I couldn't figure out which one. But I do have a list that I'll send out as well. There's interest from all of them involved in education. And do I need to put a sentence there saying this is not the commission? Should I put like a statement, like you said, saying the commission is not tasked with voter education on ranked choice voting?
I don't think it hurts.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts at all to say it's outside of our, like,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes up, it can
that's-
be kind of like, with the DEIA and
Yeah.
ethics and all that. Like, none of that is on the commission to set up. Their job's just the charter's language of it. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I've just changed that. I just said it's not tasked with education, with voter education. That's what I'll put. Voter education, right? Okay. So I changed that one. There we go. Did he really leave? That's so funny.
I think you just have green screen. I think he's there. He's just not in front of his webcam.
Okay. Okay, well then I'm gonna like pare this down a little bit, add that one slide, take out the survey questions and the survey slide and all that stuff that I added, and then just make this is the public presentation of our ballot language. I know there are going to be people that are going to come to the meeting just to see this ballot language. Those are the nerdy people that really want to see that. They want to see, what does your ballot language look like? I get it all the time. So there will be people. I know there's a San Juan commissioner that is dying to see it. And so I think that she's going to tune in too to see the ballot language. So I'll pare that down, get that going, and I'll send it out on the 28th. At that time, I'll send it out to Greg Kimsey as well. And does anybody have a problem with any of that, or is that okay? Plan going forward?
Do you want to send it out to him a little bit sooner so that if he has some issue that jumps out?
No, because we're really not going to address anything. This is just our proposal right now. We have all of November, and if you look at our last slide, it says on our timeline, we have all of November to work with the auditor, to work with legal, to work with everybody to make sure everybody is happy and everybody has what they need. That's so.
Yeah, citizens will still have town halls and surveys and all that to do in that timeline too. So it'll every opportunity to get out there.
And for one thing, I don't want the auditor to feel like he has to address anything right now. He's like right in the middle of an election.
What? Yeah. It's not like he's busy.
Yeah. So Okay, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead, look at this, 2:56. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Ranked Choice Voting Subcommittee. Thank you, everybody, for all the input, and I'll get that out and get it to commissioners.